Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Let's Get Pivotal. My name is Keyur Patel. I'm the Business Development Manager at Bio3D. My co-host.
Yep. Hi, everyone. My name is Rosalie. Happy to be on for our second episode. I am the Chief Technical Officer for OrthoTech and Bio3D in Malaysia. Glad to have on our show as well, Dr. Shanaz.
Yep. Thanks for the introduction. I'm the General Manager as well as Co-Director of Klinik Pergigian Fauziah, yes.
Okay. So today we're going to discuss a little bit about aligners and what's the steps we are going to be taking forward in terms of doing aligners.
Right, yep, you're right, Kia. Moving along with the current situation that we're in, especially with the COVID-19 going on about, it's I think more apparent that we should start revisiting or reintroducing ourselves into digital dentistry. So I think clear aligners would be a great step towards that. If you're practicing orthodontist or you're practicing orthodontics itself in your clinic, I think it's a great time to actually get into clear aligners, as treatment planning is easier. You can actually scan your patient and get the teeth aligned with the treatment plan and stuff. I think that will be a great step towards dentistry itself.
Yeah, it's because with standard dentistry, you definitely have a lot more checkups that are going on. Patients are coming to visit you more frequently to get their wires tightened, to get their maybe brackets replaced if they've debonded. Aligners, it seems, really do lend themselves quite well to maybe the steps that we have to now take going forward in how we're dealing with patients, how we're dealing between each other, actually, even.
Yep, you're right. Especially when it comes to seeing patients again, I guess once you've already planned out the treatment plan, if you start with aligners itself, you get the patients to come in the first visit itself, and that's when you actually usually take an impression. But now, since with digital dentistry, you can even have the option of taking a scan instead of taking an impression. And like you were saying in your previous episode, I've tuned in when you were speaking to Dr. Beh, how that might actually increase, by taking an impression, that might actually increase the extra, vector towards spreading of diseases or spreading of the, increasing the transmissions of the viruses. So if we stop transporting impression takings or casts that we have taken from our clinic to the labs, and we just instead send them digitally, it cuts down one mode of transmission. So I think moving forward in this pandemic itself, digital dentistry is the way to go.
Yeah, it seems the onus is now on all of us to actually adapt. We've been talking about adapting to digital for quite a long time now. And like Dr. Bear mentioned actually in a previous episode, previously there was none of the clinicians were actually wearing gloves. For example, that was quite a eye-opening thing for me. I didn't quite realize that. And that HIV epidemic was the incentive to go ahead and start wearing gloves. And perhaps in this situation now, it's going to be that we need to further take precautions, and digital, could play a part.
That's true. As you were saying just now, other than taking the impression and seeing the patient for the first time, we can stop that transmission from there. But even reviewing our patients can, I think, be progressed and moved on to digital as well. Right now, it is, if you are practicing conventional orthodontics, where you do have a lot of wires and brackets, you will have to see your patients every 4 to 6 weeks. I think it's very important that you do review them, because the elasticity of the rubbers get worn down, the wires get loosened, there's cleanliness involved and stuff. But when it comes to, let's say, if we move on to clear aligners, it's so much more easier to keep track of whether you have your attachments still in place. And cleanliness is a big factor here, because it's easy for you to clean your teeth with clear aligners on. If you're undergoing clear aligner treatment, you just have to remove the clear aligner itself and you can brush your teeth like normal. Plus, reviewing might not be so much as important every 4 to 6 weeks. You can even opt to get it reviewed. I've seen some clinics, and I've seen some clinics overseas online itself, that they do online reviewing. So they get the patients to get on a Zoom call, and maybe a Skype call or Zoom call, and they just review their patients based on what records they have at home and what the patient current treatment is right now.
I think that's like exactly what Dr. Shanaz has said. I think definitely going digital, especially with the clear aligner solutions, even if we are affected by a lockdown, patients don't have to worry as much as if they had conventional orthodontics, because with clear aligners, like what Dr. Shanaz said, is that you are able to have a virtual conversation with your patient online. You can virtually assess how are the aligners fittings, are they fitting well, and also to track them, before they move to the next stage. And going digital as well, just like what Kyo has said, is they have applications in order to ensure that there's patient compliance, etc. So in your opinion, Dr. Shanaz, so like for example, during this lockdown and epidemics, was there a big effect in terms of the cases that you have been doing, tracking your patients and making sure things are going well?
Right. Yeah. Thanks, Ross. I have seen a big amount of reduction of patients itself, but when it comes to clear aligners itself, it's not really. Maybe for me to actually start new cases, it might be a bit hard because everyone's a bit more scared. But all my current patients who are going through their clear aligner therapy have no problems whatsoever texting me or even texting the clinic itself or calling up the clinic itself and asking whether is it okay for them to just pick up their clear aligners itself, or for us to deliver their clear aligners, their sets of aligners that they need to wear, and just for us to review them through a phone call or even an online conversation. I've had actually one case that I've asked this patient to get on a Zoom call, for me to just check his oral cavity, see the movement of his teeth from the front side. I mean, it's limited for how much I can retract his cheek, or he can retract his cheek for himself. But it's still a step forward, I think. Yeah, it allows me to actually think this might be the possibility for me to actually do my reviews. So I don't actually have to have the patient physically there. Like you were saying, I can always check and see whether my treatment plan is going according to what the patient's teeth are aligning well. So at aligner number 7, they should look like how I see it on the computer itself. So yeah, there is a bit of a drop when it comes to newer patients, but my current patients, it's totally fine.
Yeah, and it also seems like a great opportunity to actually provide further patient education, because usually the patients do come in and consult, but this way, it's also the onus is on them to connect with you on a Zoom call. You have their attention, so to speak.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's a great opportunity to actually make them realize why it's important to actually wear your aligners for the set amount of time. Like, this is the perfect example. This is why you need to do it this way, so that you don't need to come in, right? If you follow the advice, then
very right.
you don't have to come see me till essentially the end of the treatment if everything tracks. So I think there's a good opportunity there.
Exactly. Yeah, like we were saying, the onus is now back on them. So when they are a bit more aware of self-examination and checking themselves and seeing whether they are on track, I mean, they have the opportunity of actually asking for what I mean, if I think how clear aligner therapy should go, they can even check their own treatment plan and see whether they are tracking and whether they need to be monitored by me personally, or they need to actually come back to the clinic itself and then have some adjustments made before continuing to the next step. And like you were saying here, now it'll be a lot more on self-care itself, so they'll be doing a lot of their self-examination, so most probably they will be a bit more aware of their own oral hygiene, a bit more involved in their treatment, instead of just leaving it to the dentist and letting us dive into the problems immediately.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's been one of the reasons that I think a lot of young clinicians or new clinicians are a bit reticent to get into it. In our experience, a lot of the feedback we get is whether we have courses and whether we're doing sort of an in-depth review of cases and things like that, if we do have those. And while we do encourage that, and we do have that, it really becomes a situation by which now that actually you can start clear aligner treatment very easily, because a lot of it has been like sort of partitioned, where previously sort of embarking on a clear aligner situation would have been that you would have to have a lot of orthodontic knowledge yourself. Whereas now there are possibilities where you can start the treatment, but you can be rest assured where orthodontists are actually involved in the planning. Or you can even perhaps, review with orthodontists using the digital workflow.
Yep,
It's a lot easier than previously. Previously, you'd have to actually transport study models, and reviewing of cases would be a lot more difficult.
Exactly. You can get an orthodontist to actually check your treatment plan. Like if I were to come up with my own treatment plan, I would want multiple opinions on seeing whether my treatment plan goes whether it is actually feasible clinically and stuff. So, and it's easy for me to get another opinion of an orthodontist, like you said. I can just transfer the treatment plan over to him, and he can check step by step. He or she can check step by step and see whether it's possible for me to continue with this particular treatment plan.
Like in terms of clear aligners, because we also do know that clear aligners can't be done for every single case. Clear aligners also still there's a limitation. Yeah, there's a limitations to clear aligners. So I think it's good to say that conventional orthodontics is what we could say. Do you think it's like the golden standard of orthodontic treatment?
Very much so. I totally agree. Gold standard is definitely conventional orthodontics, whether self-ligating or conventional ones with the tie-on with brackets itself. But clear aligner therapy is a definite option for especially simple malocclusions or simple cases like that. And it's totally possible done using a digital workflow, which will make it easier on both the patients as well as the dentist itself. I think this pandemic COVID-19 not only forced us to learn how to adapt and work from home, but has pushed us to a sense where we need to step out of our comfort zone, take in more and learn newer skills that will make it easier for us to serve our patients itself.
Yeah. Because we're all, in a matter of speaking, still running a business. On the business side, it's also still important that we are, as a clinic, you're generating a set amount of revenue. And this is definitely a situation in which the more you can do, the more you can offer your patients, the better, I think, in this situation. So we definitely hope that more people will jump on clear aligners. And so that sort of leads me to, I think, a pretty important questions. What are the pitfalls in choosing a clear aligner system? Like, what are the things that you definitely want to tick off before you decide that this is a clear aligner system that you have confidence in, or that you'd be looking to try as a dentist? Yeah.
As a dentist, one of the few things is definitely the treatment plan. The software that you will be using itself for the clear aligner system has to be a software that I do recognize, not something that I know in and out, but I do recognize itself, like one of the big brands, and whether an orthodontist actually helps in the treatment planning itself. That I think is pivotal enough, and it's something of preference, I think. I would like if there was, because I'm not an orthodontist and I would need some guidance in some sense. So as long as I know there is an orthodontist that actually checks and sees whether my treatment plan is accurate enough or is feasible clinically, then that would be a tick for me to choose a clear aligner therapy.
Also, I think some of the feedback that we've got, I've gotten over the last few years, has been that orthodontists are very much concerned with making sure that the aligner companies are legitimate, that they've been around for a while. Because I've heard of a lot of cases where, in our local culture, a lot of the times we accept that European products are good, European companies will be better. But I think in the aligner sort of game, what has happened quite a lot is a lot of aligner companies get set up, but then, they sort of disappear.
They pack up and leave.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. And you're sort of held, you're stuck in the middle of a case, you have a whole bunch of patients. And I think one of those things is important to keep an eye on that. And I think
that's true.
Sort of the aligner business has opened up a lot now. There are many, many options in just about every country. Maybe something to look towards is local production, or having some sort of local representation, you could say.
Yep. And producing the aligners locally as well. You're very right, Keo. Actually, getting that would be a big factor for me as well, because shipping costs and all that is also very expensive. Plus, if ever I do have patients who require new aligners, or they tore their aligners, or they broke or they lost one, I would like them to get on the treatment as soon as possible. So making a new set of aligners and getting it arrived on time is a big factor as well. So you are very right. Getting a local company that is in the clear aligner therapy and has been in the dentistry business for quite some time reassures me as well.
Because just even like these are some of the horror stories I've heard in the past, and that sort of turns people away from aligners in general, turns people away from digital, it turns people away, and I don't think that should be the case.
Another question in terms of clear aligners for you, Dr. Shanaz. I just want to ask, in terms of learning how to place those composite attachments and doing those interproximal reduction, what was the learning curve for you to learn those aspects to start doing your first aligner case? Was it a steep learning curve for you, or was it quite easy for you to get to learn?
Oh no, not at all. It makes perfect sense to me. I think using a template to place in composite attachments I don't know, it wasn't a learning curve whatsoever. It was maybe a bit challenging to remove the template once I've bonded the composite attachments, because it sticks, because you use etch and then you use bond, put in the composite, and then it sticks, right? So you'll have to put a bit more force into your template to remove it. And the only thing that I was worried about was that I was putting too much force and it might hurt the patients when I'm removing the template itself. But for all my cases so far, I've not caused my patients pain. They just let me know that it's a bit of a tug, nothing more than that. So that's okay. So other than placing the composite attachment, IPR is just a no-brainer for me. It's not that much of a problem. I think I learned pretty early on that you cannot do IPR on all teeth, especially if it's badly rotated. You will need to have some fix of their rotations, meaning have some derotations first for you to be able to do a nice IPR, because sometimes certain teeth are too crowded to a point that you cannot do a perfect IPR. You might accidentally nick off parts of the teeth that you don't want to nick off. So other than those two things, not much of a learning curve.
In terms of your experience, it was actually very easy to pick up. It was easy to start. It was
very easy to pick up.
Okay. So do you think that with these clear liners, your patients, you're actually able to show your patients the treatment video, which is very common with a lot of clear liner systems. Did you feel that to get patient on board with an orthodontic treatment, did you find it easier using that clear liner method by being so that they can see the final results compared to conventional? Was there a big difference in getting patients on board?
Yes, you are very right, Ross. It is a much easier way to sell, and it's easy for me to actually tell the patient, look, this is what your end result will look like, and it's easier for the patient to accept this kind of treatment plan. They actually can visualize, and actually can not just visualize, but they can actually see how their teeth would look like at the end of the treatment. So yes, a big yes to treatment videos, or the approval videos, or because that really seals the deal with the patient. I would like to come out on the the apps that you were saying. I have seen them, but I can't remember what the apps are called. I only use TrayMinder.
One of the apps.
I think Invisalign has one.
Yeah.
What is it, Ross?
Yeah, no, just repeating what you just said. Actually, one of the apps that we've been trying to get doctors on board is actually TrayMinder. It's a great app.
Right, okay.
Yeah, it's a great app because you can easily set the reminder for the patient how often, and it notifies them on their phone. They can take photos, and then you can have a collection of the movement from start to finish. I think it's also a good application as well to get your patients involved as well, not just clipping it on and removing it, but also getting them involved in the whole journey from start to the end. I think that will also put an impact on them as well.
There's this book I used to read. It's a business book, but it's basically there's this term that they use. This the sentence that they use is passing the monkey over. So it's giving the responsibility back to the patients itself, because it is their treatment. It is for their teeth. It is for their own end result. So it's you're telling them, look, this clear aligners are for you, and it's you who want to get the end result. Of course, I want you to get to reach the end result as well, but you will have to wear the aligners itself. So it's passing them the monkey by giving them the responsibility and telling them you have to reach the 20 to 22 hours mark. And there's an app here for you, and it helps you reach that goal so much easier right now. It's because you really do. Everyone relies on their mobile phones for nearly everything itself.
That's right. Yeah.
I think it just helps them reach the end goal much faster as well, and more accurately as well.
Definitely. I think definitely with all these new, and again, it's the advancements of technologies and what we have today. I think it makes treatment better and better as we keep moving forward.
So, Dr. Shanaz, so far we've had a pretty good podcast, and so I think this is a tradition we're gonna start doing. Is how do you feel right now?
I am looking forward. I'm also very, very comfortable because I'm in my own home right now. And it's interesting enough that I can do this with you guys. And I think it will, this kind of podcasts will be something new, something entertaining for us, for dentists to listen to and, rile on and, just gain some new information, since everyone's just so busy with being at home and thinking about continuing their business plan, and most probably, going through plenty of webinars. A change like listening to a podcast might be, some different, nice.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Dr. Shanaz. Thanks for being on our podcast.
No problem. Well, thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks a lot,
for
Dr.
today.
Shanaz, for your time.
Yes, thank you so much,
No
Dr.
problem.
Shanaz Stephens. Yes.
Stefan, without the S, but yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Take care.
It's fine here. All right.
We would like to thank Dr. Shanaz for being a guest on this episode of Let's Get Pivotal. We would also like to thank you, our listener, for joining us on this episode. If you'd like more information on the TrayMinder app mentioned in this episode, please get in touch with us. As always, if you've enjoyed what you've heard here, please do like and share our podcast on social media. And you can also subscribe to our YouTube channel for all future podcasts as well as other content. And remember, make sure to hit that notification bell. Until next time, be well and stay safe.